So we have these two mega trends going. On one side, we have this hyper-globalization, which is absolutely unstoppable. On the other side, we have hyper-democratizations, which is also unstoppable. People are going to behave more and more that way. First of all, politics is alive and well. You know, as I'm paraphrasing Mark Twain, any reports on the death of history have been largely exaggerated. And that there is a huge tension now which we are all experiencing between hyperglobalization of transplanetary relations on the social level on one side and politics, which is basically living on the national level at the same time. And this tension between those two levels of our organization are just going to increase. We will see more globalized society and more nationalized politics. And we have no idea how to solve this problem at the moment. So this is the first problem. The second thing is that when we are thinking about publics in public relations, we should start thinking about duality. There is something in us which is forcing us to simplify also in scientific research things to their nearly final nonsense. We have problems dealing with situations in which we cannot decide which theory is right and which one is not. So you can read some reports which are saying general public, the notion of general public is nonsense. And you see the other reports which are saying, you know, you cannot talk about publics as stakeholders because that is just, you know, the language is not precise enough if we are not making distinctions between the terms. But in reality, we should start thinking about, on one side, public relations is about relationship management. That's one level. But at the same time, it's also about social representations. You know, society somehow exists out there. And we should not forget that. And it seems that from time to time we forget about that, and because of that, somehow we get crashed on our head from behind, you know. You've forgotten that there is something out there that could have been sensed, but it was not. And we have serious problem with research because we are trying to measure something for which we don't have fine enough instruments at the moment to figure out what is going on there. So we should be able to think about publics at two levels. Literally, we should have a duality theory of publics. And to show you that natural scientists don't have such problems as we have, I found this quote from Albert Einstein, who said, "It seems as though we must use sometimes one theory and sometimes the other, while at times we may use either. We are faced with a new kind of difficulty." He's talking about physics. "We have two contradictory pictures of reality," and he was here talking about light. "Separately, neither of them fully explain the phenomena of light, but together they do." Today, physics is dealing the same way with the matter. If you ask a physicist what is a matter, they will tell you it can be a particle or it can be a wave. How do we explain that? Both ways. The same way we should approach publics. You know, how do we define publics? It depends. They are situational and they are general. And we have to learn how to live with that. And we have to find how to develop theories for that. And the third implication is that mediatization is everything today. We are hearing about problems of media relations for public relations today in previous debates here. But first of all, more and more power today is media generated, meaning that media are today more important than they used to be, let's say, 50 years ago. Second, access, control, and diffusion of media are rising, meaning that more people can have their own media today than they used to have 50 or 100 years ago. If you think backwards, 100 years ago, it was hugely capital intensive to have a medium. Today, if you want to have a newspaper, if you want to have your own television, it's practically zero investment. Again, just use your phone and you can have all of that. reconfiguration of media are reconfiguring power. A new golden age for media relations is actually coming. But we have to start thinking about media relations differently. We live in a world, and we were trained in a world, and unfortunately our legal frameworks operate that way, that out there are traditional media, and those media are divided between editorial and advertising space. And now we have to figure out how to deal with that, and we in public relations are specialists for those editorial part of the media. In reality, media out there operate completely differently today. And we are in danger of becoming part of the problem of the media industry the same way as journalists are. They were just, you know, they were trying to live their own story in a completely new realities, and that way they are slowly losing their jobs. We have to start thinking about media as something which is out there, not only earned and paid and social and owned, but actually as everything which is generating communication today. And we have to find our new role in that, because we literally own media relations. So we should be able to figure out how to step forward in all of that.